Good morning. So now we have it pretty much clear. We have three dargot, three levels. We have the level of the person which is tzaddik. The tzaddik comes from Arich Anpin. His amshacha, what he does is from the level of chitzoniut keter, the outside of the keter, and it's the level of the will, and therefore he is able to impose and override nature, but he overrides nature. He doesn't transform nature. Then we have something which is higher than that, which is the yashar, the person which is upright. The yashar comes from the level of atik. Atik is the inside of keter, the inside of the crown, in a way that it brings out the pleasure of Hashem, the pleasure in the creation to participate in that change of will. And then we have pnimiut keter. Then we have the inside of keter, which is called resha de'elo it yada, the level of the head which is above knowledge, which is the level of Ein Sof, basically the infinity of Hashem. And being it's the infinity of Hashem, and since infinity means infinity, and therefore it's not that the tzaddik, that level of tzaddik, which is called chasid, has to annul nature, superimpose nature, but rather there's no decree to start with, because it's Ein Sof, because it's infinite. So there's no concept of time, there's no concept of decree to start with. And things just happen in a way which is mimele, which is automatic, right? Because he's at the level of chassid. What is the quality of that chassid? The chassid is the one that is able to teach the son of the ignoramus, the ignorant, to teach him Torah, and bring out from something which is cheap, bring out the value in something which is apparently cheap, apparently not valuable, right? Not cheap. Cheap is not the right word. Valuable. And because of this, kefitiye, your mouth will be like mine, says Hashem. Now we continue in chapter Tet. Now to understand the different types of drawing of light which come from these three levels, you have to know that the birurim, there is a concept of birurim, birur hanitzotzot, which is basically the elevating of the spark, the revealing of the sparks of godliness, and bringing them back to their source and connecting them. So in each one of these levels has an effect in a different way, in the way it's able to bring out the nitzotzot, bring out the sparks of godliness. The gilui, the revelation that happens through arich, through the lower level of the crown, is from above to below. היינו שהבירור דעת תחתון הוא לא מצד המציאות שלו אלא אדרבה, מפני שעל ידי שמאיר בו גילוי אור שאינו בערך אליו בחינת הסובב, הוא יתבטל ממציאותו. What happens is, arich will shine a light which is above the existence of the recipient, and therefore it's going to annul itself before that great light. You understand what's happening? So, what happens is the following. I'm going to give you a good example and you understand. Sometimes we have situations happen in our life. Either a great revelation of kindness, a miracle of Hashem, or, God forbid, something which is from above. And it's so strong that you have no choice but to annul yourself. But it doesn't mean that you were transformed. It means that we're just overwhelmed by the abundance of light or abundance of kindness of Hashem. Here he's saying that the level of Sovev Kol Almin, this light which cannot be contained or grasped, when it reveals itself in a way which does not take in consideration the recipient of that light, And therefore the recipient is overwhelmed, and because he's overwhelmed, therefore something happens. He's going to annul himself to in front of that great light. It's like too much for me to handle. And therefore he annuls himself. ולכן גם לאחר הבירור, זה שהתחתון אינו מנגד הוא לפי שנתבטא במציאות על ידי הגילוי אור. אבל לא שנעשה שינוי במציאות התחתון עצמו. And therefore, even though this great revelation happened, it's not that he was transformed. He was just annulled for that moment that the light is shining upon him because he has no choice. Imagine you're about to do a sin, right? You want to be an opponent, but somebody at that moment, somebody watches you, right? So at that moment, you refrain from doing it. Doesn't mean that you're transformed, you're not going to do it. As soon as they leave, you would be willing to do it again. You understand? So the existence of the one below, the receiver, the recipient, does not change. והבירור שעל ידי הגילוי דעתיק הוא גם מצד עניינו דהתחתון עצמו. But the gilui, the revelation that comes from the higher level of Keter, right, affects the one receiving it as well, from within. לכיוון שתענוג עתיק הוא הפנימיות והחיות בכל השתלשלות, being that atik, which represents pleasure, and pleasure is the drive and motivation of every level of creation. לכן הבירור דהתחתון שעל ידי גילוי זה הוא באופן שנעשה שינוי בתחתון עצמו. The revelation that happens through Atik is in a way that there's a transformation from the one below himself, all the levels below. I'm going to give you an example. If I threaten you, right? I threaten my student or my son that he is going to be thrown out of class or he will not go on his class trip. Right? So at that moment, the son is ready for the next month to behave. Why? Because I overwhelmed him with my threat. If I explain to him the extraordinary benefit and awaken within him the pleasure he's going to have as a result of making that change in his life and behaving, at that moment I have taken him as a partner in the project. He is no longer an opponent that's been subdued. He is a partner with the process. When Atik reveals itself to the world has in it, awakens in it the pleasure that people have in connecting to God. And therefore they want to naturally abandon anything which is the opposite of it. As we explained in the Mamar, just like the light that was shining at the time of King Solomon, this was the level of Atik. This was the level of Pnimut HaKeter that was shining at the time of Shlomo HaMelech. This revelation brought and drew like a magnet the sparks of godliness. Just like a big flame, right, that draws to it all the sparks. They were drawn by themselves to the revelation. We understand that this happened even from the below, from the receiver. Right? Like for example, we know that the Queen of Sheba of Ethiopia, right? When she heard of the greatness of Shlomo Melech, she was drawn to him. She wanted to know. It's like the level of Atik awakens a curiosity inside somebody. You think of the Rebbe, for example. Prime ministers, presidents, officials, scientists, doctors, you name it, from every corner of the world, drawn to the Rebbe. Where does that come from? Right? It's not that they were forced. This is not like you have this tzaddik that his gabayim, his entourage tells you, no, you have to see him, you have to see him. I don't have to see anybody. What are you talking about? No, you have to see him. He wants to see you. If he wants to see me, it's a problem. So I'm going to come, right? I might be subdued because, of the charisma or the holiness or whatever it is, but I'm going to be transformed. If I want to see him, that's something else. understand? אלא שמכל מקום, כיוון שגם לגבי עתיק יש המציאות להשתלשלות. ומצד סדר ההשתלשלות, גדר התחתון הוא שהוא תחתון נפח דעליון. לכן הגילוי אור דעליון שנמשך בו, ממילא גם הבירור שנעשה על ידי הגילוי הוא כמו דבר נוסף עליו. והבירור שעל ידי, so he says, being that the tachton, which means the receiver, the recipient, the lower person that's receiving this revelation, is still in existence as a tachton, as a being which is limited within his realm. Therefore, that revelation that's operating within him is something which is not yet him. It's something which is above him, that draws him like a magnet, but it has not become him. He's not one with that revelation. והבירור שעל ידי הגילוי דפנימיות עתיק. But the revelation that happens with pnimiut atik, with the depth of atik, where resides the Or Ein Sof, where resides the infinite light. כיוון שפנימיות עתיק אין סוף שבחדלה הוא בכללות עצמות אור אין סוף, ולגבי עצמות אור אין סוף, אין שייך מציאות שחוץ ממנו. And since in the Pnimiut Atik there is the Ein Sof, which is the essence of Hashem, and since at that level it does not exist any existence out of him because he is the whole existence, he is everything. ואדרבה, אמיתת עם עצמו יתברך, היא המציאות של הכל הנמצאים. Not only that, as the Rambam says, the true existence of every existence is the essence of Hashem. לכן על ידי גילוי פנימיות עתיק נרגש בכל דבר שהמציאות שלו גופה היא אלוקות. Therefore, through the revelation of pnimiut atik, which is the infinity of Hashem and the essence of Hashem, we reveal that the tachton, which means the recipient, is actually its existence. Its true reality of existence is a result of God. Which means it's not that there's me and there's God. No, my whole existence is from God. And the fact that I'm here is actually a proof on his essence, on his essence, his existence. וזהו שבימי שלמה. This is why at the time of שלמה המלך נתבררו רק ניצוצות אלו שהיה בהם איזה עניין של אור, ולעתיד לבוא יתבררו כל הניצוצות. כי ברור הניצוצות שעל ידי גילוי חיצוניות עתיק, שהגילוי היה בימי שלמה, היה גילוי לחיצוניות עתיק, הוא לא מצד הניצוצות עצמם, אלא מצד זה שהגילוי מושך את הניצוצות אליו, ולכן התבררו. אז רק ניצוצות אלו ששייכים להרגיש גילוי. What happened at the time of שלמה המלך? Only these sparks, which had some type of connection to that luminary that was shining at the time of Shlomo, that great light that was shining at the time of Shlomo, they were able to be drawn. But those who didn't have that spark of light were not able to be drawn. Because it was only the level of Atik. It wasn't the depth of Atik, like what we said before, which is Ein Sof. But when Mashiach comes, הבירור שעל ידי גילוי פנימיות עתיק הוא שעל ידי הגילוי לפנימיות עתיק מתגלה בכל דבר שהמציאות של גוף האלוקות. Being that פנימיות עתיק is that everything discovers that it is God. ולכן לעתיד לבוא שאז יהיה הגילוי לפנימיות עתיק, גם הניצוצות נחשכו, יתעלו ויחוללו בקדושה. And therefore, even at the time when Mashiach comes, even those sparks which have become completely in darkness, have fallen in darkness, they will be elevated. Because they'll recognize that they're godliness too. ויתרה מזה שגם הדברים הגשמים עצמם, לא רק הניצוצות שבהם יהיו בתכלית ההתאחדות באלוקות, כמו שנתבהר בדיבור המתחיל פעלה בשלום, שנאמר בי"ט כסלו. Not only that, even the physicality which withholds, which contains the spark of godliness which has been obscured, it too will reveal that its existence comes from God. Which means that there will be no more whatever is obscure will become light, and whatever was obscuring will become translucid and will become as well drawn and recognize its purpose as a part of creation. You understand here why Mashiach is the ultimate level of peace and unity. ועוד חילוק שבין הבירור שהיה בימי שלמה לבירור שיהיה לעתיד לבוא, לבירור הניצוצות שבעמים, היה על ידי שבאו אליו, אבל קודם שבאו אליו נתבררו עדיין. So he says another difference is at the time of Shlomo HaMelech, who was elevated? All those who came to Shlomo. גם שהגילוי שהאיר על ידי שלמה האיר גם מהניצוצות של המקומות הרחוקים. Even though the light that shined at the time of Shlomo was able to reach great distances, ומשך אותם לבוא אליו, and was able to draw them to come to him. מכל מקום, בירושלים בפועל היה דווקא לאחר שבאו אליו. But when exactly was the transformation? The transformation happened. It happened only once they came to him. כמובן מזה שגם לאחרי שהמלכה שבה שמעה את שמה שלמה, הוא צריך להיות, תבוא ירושלמה. The same thing with the queen of Sheba. When it wasn't enough that she heard about Shlomo, she had to come to Jerusalem. ורק אז נעשה הבירור, and only then was there the elevation of the sparks. וכיוון שהבירור שלהם היה לו מצד עצמם, אלא מצד הגילוי שהאיר בהם, because it was not a light from within them, but it was a light from external to them that was shining in them, awakening something in them. But it wasn't from them, it was from outside them to awaken something in them. לכן הבירור שלהם, הם כשבאו למקום ששמו הגילוי. Therefore, they could only be elevated once they were attached to that revelation. והבירור דלעתיד לבוא, כיוון שהבירור אז יהיה על ידי שהתגלה אמיתית המציאות של הדברים הדברים עם עצמם. לכן אז זה יהפוך על העמים, כמו שהם במציאות ובמקומם, במציאותם ובמקומם גאולה עובדי שכם אחד. And that's why when Mashiach comes, there's going to be the revelation that everything is a part of the creation of God, and everything exists only from the existence of God. And therefore, in their existence, in their place, everything will be elevated. Have a great day.